Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is 10:32 on a Thursday morning. Pretty chilly, chilly climate right now. We're I guess week two of officially being in the fall season, so it's starting to really feel like fall, which is nice. I'm a summertime person, but uh, I don't like the cold. Gets to me after a while. I mean, I know we have a long way to go, but I do love the fall, and we're in Halloween season, so that's amazing and awesome. So my favorite holiday of all time. So anyway, I want to thank got some new subscribers here at Film Fanatic headquarters. Always appreciate the love people show for checking out these wacky videos for this wacky channel. And I really love when people comment on the videos. I love interacting with other people who are obsessed with movies like I am. So super cool. I really appreciate it. So one of the things I'm excited about, I just saw this really interesting and innovative little mini horror movie. Actually, just this morning. It was only an hour long. I'm really excited to talk about it. So it's totally fresh in my brain. Typically, a lot of times when I go to the movies, the last movie, full theatrical movie I saw was One Battle After Another, which is just an extraordinary movie. I typically wait 24 hours or so to do a review, just because I like to let the whole experience kind of simmer and think about it, because your experiences can be pretty different. The next day or after some time goes by, but sometimes you just know automatically, like, okay, this is gold. This is what I want from a film. I had that experience with a few movies this year. That's the first one that I thought, well, I've seen some really good movies. Weapons, which was by the filmmakers who did Barbarian a few years ago. I saw that. I think I saw that in August. I still have not seen Barbarian, which I hate myself for not being able to, but you can't really rent it anywhere. You can't. There's no physical media version of it coming out anytime soon, but Weapons was really good. And then a couple of weeks ago, I saw the new Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk, which was an extraordinary movie. And then also, we just saw One Battle After Another. And I pretty much had a gut reaction to those films. And 24 hours later, like I said, in the past, I used to do sometimes shows right after I got home after seeing a movie, and I would do a review then. But usually I'm a little bit fatigued, and I kind of want to chill out for a while, and then let the movie kind of simmer, the experience simmer for a while. But my reactions to all those movies, especially The Long Walk and especially One Battle After Another, I had an immediate interest in what I was experiencing, and I love those movies to death. But definitely the two best movies I saw this year. Weapons was really good, but this was just these two films, especially One Battle After Another, just connected really in such a strong way. One of the things, and related to what I'm going to be talking about today, was the complete and utter originality of what I was experiencing and the imagination. So, again, when I started this channel, which was probably 2 or 3 years ago now, I did my first experience doing videos was on my Film Fanatic Facebook page, which I've had for a few years. I started doing a lot of live videos, and that was a lot of fun. Not a big fan of Facebook these days. It's really weird with the algorithms and all these other things. And then I've had a YouTube channel for about 5 years. I've had it for a wicked long time, maybe even more, but I never really did anything with it. And then I started to try. Well, I guess you could say I threw my hat in the ring, and then about 2 3 years ago, closer to 3 years ago, I started to do videos, and it's been a lot of fun. And I have transitioned. I still have the Facebook page, the Film Fanatic Facebook page. I technically have my Instagram page. That got hacked last year, so I had to redo it, and that page died. Now I have it back, but I don't do as much movie stuff on that. It's more of a music personal page, but there's some film stuff on there, but that really set me back as far as that goes. But now I kind of repurposed everything, and now my main focus is this crazy channel. So anyway, during that whole time of process, I started checking out. I've always been a big fan of YouTube, and I've been checking out. I've been checking out a lot of YouTube guys and girls out there, and there's a few out there that I really gravitated towards, and really started to dig. And I feel like anything, this is always an ongoing kind of learning process. I had to get your points across, try to do it in a relatively cohesive way, and also have it presented in a fun way as well. And the guys that I really love a lot, my two favorite YouTube guys are Mood616, which is he's a Canadian YouTube guy, and he really specializes in my true love of cinema, mostly focusing on exploitation movies, and also 42nd Street Forever, who is a YouTube guy also who really takes a deep dive into exploitation movies. And around that time, probably the first YouTube guy out there that I really started watching, and I still watch his channel quite a bit. I think it's I think it's a little bit of a different thing now, but it's Chris Stuckman. Chris Stuckman is probably the biggest YouTube guy out there. He's been around for a really long time, for I don't know, maybe 10 years. He's amassed this massive following. He's also transitioned very recently into, and his film is coming out, I believe, this month. But he's transitioned into becoming a full-fledged filmmaker. He has a new movie coming, his first movie coming out, Shelby Oaks. But I was a big, or I still consider myself a big fan of his channel. The one thing I'm not super stoked about his channel now is I feel like since he's kind of transitioned into being a filmmaker, he takes it easy on films. Like, he's not as critical. And I've always loved his show because he gets really enthusiastic about something and he expresses it really well in a very kind of respectful way, even negative reviews. But since he's transitioned to becoming a filmmaker, he seems to give movies a little bit more of a pass. I don't know. But whatever, he's still great. And he was a big source of inspiration for me to do this channel, as well as the two other guys I mentioned, Mood616 and 42nd Street Forever. And another YouTube guy that I like, Cody. Oh, geez, now I can't remember his name. Cody Leach, sorry. Cody Leach is another guy. There's some things about his channel. I mean, again, we all have opinions, and that's great. There's some things about his channel that I'm not a big fan of, but for the most part, I do watch his channel, and I mainly watch his channel because he reviews a shit ton of movies, and they're mostly newer films. So I try again. I'm an old school film guy. I love films from 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially the 70s and 80s. That's what I always go back to. But that being said, I always try to stay current and try to see what's coming out. I try to see new things a lot, and I always have a lot of respect for films that come out, because I do think that there are still, even though things are very different now in the industry, there's still a lot of great films that do come out. It's sometimes I feel like, man, I wish I was back in the 70s again, but still, those movies I mentioned before at the top of the show were just really incredible. So anyway, I was watching a show, a Cody Leach video where he was just at this big film festival, and I believe it is what is the name of it? Now I can't remember the name of it. Fantastic Fest. Fantastic Fest. I've never been to a large scale film festival. The only film festival I've ever been to, and I used to go to it all the time, and it's a local festival, Camden Film Festival, and it's all documentaries. I used to go to that every year and see a ton of movies, and that was really great. But as far as going to see more like a horror specific festival or where there's full length feature films, I've never experienced that. And that would be fun to do someday. But Fantastic Fest is a pretty big festival every year. I think it just happened a few weeks ago, and I think it's in Texas. Basically, they show like I think they show like 30 to 50 movies at this festival, and these are all like new horror films. They do show some action films and some dramas, but it's primarily, it seems to be horror based or horror driven films. And a lot of these films do have a scheduled release. A lot of these films are also very independent films, and some of them don't have a distribution yet. But a good majority of a lot of these movies are movies that are coming out in later this year, even some this month, but mainly next year. A lot of them are coming out in 2026. So it's a pretty good show because there's he Cody Leach did a big show on all of these movies that he saw, and he saw like 27 to 28 movies over the course of, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, which is pretty insane. And it's all about new things that are coming out or new things to keep your eyes peeled for. So there were a few movies on this list that, and he does a ranking system. There were a few movies on the list where I thought, okay, cool, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for that. There's one movie coming out. I think it's coming out in January, February, called Primate, that looks pretty amazing, about this killer chimpanzee. Um, and but there was one movie he was talking about which made the top of his list, which he said was the best thing he's ever seen at the festival, or was definitely the best movie at the festival. And it's a new movie called Obsession. It didn't have a release. It wasn't. Didn't get picked up by a distributor, and it's a new debut film by a independent artist. The number one movie for his list out of all the movies he saw at the festival was this movie that was directed by Curry Barker, who apparently is a big YouTube guy who does all of these little skit videos and little short videos. And I had never heard of him before, but he directed his debut, and it's called Obsession. And he said this movie was just balls to the wall insane and just like simply amazing. And he said this movie was the biggest kind of hit at the festival. It was insanely original, so much imagination, and really raved about this movie. So I was like, okay, cool. And one of the other things he said was that Obsession, Corey Barker's new film, for his first film, and he's a really young guy. I think he's like, I don't even think he's 30 years old. So he was saying how this film did not have a distribution deal, but I guess it got picked up by a company a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was Focus Films. I can't remember who it was, but supposedly this company approached him and offered him $11 million to distribute this movie. So so this film Obsession hopefully will get a release, but I definitely want to see it. So the way Cody Leach was describing this movie, Obsession, sounded super awesome. Like it sounded bonkers crazy, highly, highly original. And I was like, okay, great, cool. And he started talking more about Curry Barker, who, again, I did not know who he was and had never heard of him before, but apparently he is a YouTube guy. He has a partnership with a few other people, and they do all kinds of videos. And he was talking about this short movie that he did, which is an hour long, called Milk and Cereal. And I guess it came out a year or two ago. And I guess it's free. He shot this movie and then basically just put it on YouTube for free, which is wild. And that really piqued my curiosity. So I looked it up. I saw before I and I watched it just a little bit ago. And before I watched it, I looked up a review of this movie, and it's a short movie. It's exactly an hour, so it's pretty easy to watch and sit through. And I looked at a little review for it through by Chris Stuckman, who I mentioned before. I was like, okay, definitely, okay, I'm going to do this. So I looked it up, found it. It was right there on YouTube, and I just watched it, Curry Barker. But right before I watched it, I found an interview or two with Curry Barker, and I really loved what he had to say. He talked a lot about, again, he's a very young guy, but he really talked about his fascination with Jordan Peele and Ari Aster, and talked about, those guys being really, influential. And of course, it's part of his generation because he's a very young guy. But he really thought that he loved their work so much as an influence because of they're truly taking, and I totally believe it. I totally believe it. Like Ari Aster and Jordan Peele are those guys. But they've taken the horror genre and done something really new with it, and really brought the genre into new territory and keeping it, because I think for anything to have any kind of style or genre or established style, you have to, it has to adapt, and it has to become contemporary to a degree. It has to be open for there to be longevity, and it has to grow. And I do feel like there are directors out there that are truly, innovators in the kind of modern horror style. Jordan Peele, I think, is a primetime example of that. Ari Aster, without a doubt. Although Ari Aster, like, isn't really, like, his last few films have not really been horror films, but horror is definitely a part of them. Robert Eggers, I think, is a primetime example of that. So there's a series of these directors that are really taking the horror genre as we know it and doing new things and creative things with it. So I really dug this interview with Corey. I thought it was like, okay, this guy seems to, or I'm sorry, Curry Barker. I really dug what he was saying, and it was like, okay, I got to check this movie out. So I just watched Milk and Cereal, and it's only an hour long, and he basically shot this movie with his friends. He's also an actor himself. He's in this movie, and he directed it, and it's essentially a serial killer film slasher movie, and I was kind of blown away by how fantastic this was. I'm like, where did this come from? I did hear, and after watching it and looking it up, I realized, wait, I did hear about this movie because it came out about a year ago, and I remember hearing about this. So, but I didn't watch it, and I watched it last night, or actually I watched it this morning, and I was kind of kind of taken aback by how, you know, how how much imagination there was in this short movie, Milk and Cereal. I thought there was some incredible intensity to the the story. I thought the acting was really great. The direction was really great, and it's also it's shot in the style of found footage, and it's really good. I was impressed, like more than impressed, because this essentially is a group of like YouTube dudes that shot this entirely. I think they shot this for like $800. Crazy, and it's only an hour, but it's jam packed with so much imagination. It's really, I think it's for what it is. Like again, minuscule budget. It's really innovative. It's got and it's totally it feels fresh. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of things that happen in this movie around kind of the narrative over the story, the arc of the characters, and it really does feel like an authentic found footage movie, and you can tell that this is shot in a way, by through like the lens of these YouTube guys, so it has that editing kind of feel or that aesthetic. So you are for the hour that this movie runs, like you are taken on this journey, and there's a lot of stuff that happens, and there's a lot of transitions, there's a lot of cuts, and you're getting a lot of information for just an hour, but it's really innovative, and it's super creepy, super dark, and I was taken back, like wow, they packed so much punch, something with so much punch in it, for virtually no money at all, and just getting a group of your friends to make it basically in your house, to make a movie in your house. Wild, totally wild. And I have to say, it was great. I was totally hooked. It's super intense. It's got great atmosphere for what it is. A lot of suspense to it, and it's really believable. And it's got elements. I also saw influences from one of my favorite slasher movies of all time from the '70s, Alice Sweet Alice. I felt like it has that vibe to it, especially with the mask that is used in the movie. Really cool. I kind of can't believe they did so much for so little. Yeah, and the thing that I loved about this little short movie, Milk and Cereal, is that there's so much imagination. It's like it's grossly imaginative. Like that is not a bad thing, but something that is totally from this guy's or these guys' warped brain, and they just make a film totally guerrilla style, and they just make it happen. But it ends up being something that's it's pretty fast, it's pretty furious, and it's mainly because it's the YouTube aesthetic. So it's like, it's pretty choppy, and there's a lot of transitions that happen, but it totally works. It's super cohesive for what it is, and I can't believe it's so jam packed for an hour, but yet you can totally get into it, and I just love how it's utterly original. And I think that this movie it's definitely a horror film. It's definitely more or less like a modern take on a serial killer, and it definitely has a slasher element to it. And again, I was just blown away by the innovation, the imagination that was used. Totally, gung ho as far as like this whole like guerrilla style filmmaking. highly effective, highly effective, and pretty inspiring that these guys, it feels like it feels like an authentic found footage film, and like where you think that okay, this was shot on iPhones or shot on some little camcorder or what have you, or a little GoPro camera, but highly effective. And again, even though it was like shot for like virtually no money, $800, the production value is pretty damn good. The acting's really good. There's some scenes in it, particularly with Curry Barker, who is the director, where the camera is just on him, and it's extraordinary. And it's he's so creepy in certain moments in this film. Yeah, I'm kind of blown away by how great this was, and I highly recommend it. And this really now I'm really excited to see what the hell he's going to do for a full length feature with a full budget. And that's how I kind of got into checking this movie out because after hearing Coda Leach talk about this movie Obsession, that just sounds fantastic. So I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on Curry Barker. Super original, super innovative, and I do think that like we need filmmakers like this that take a risk, that really use their imagination, do something new and creative, take the horror genre and like give it some new oxygen, give it some new breathing room, do something new. This is it. This is a really good example of that. So I'm going to keep my eye on this guy, Curry Barker. I don't even think he's like 30 years old. He's a kid. And it's just like, what the hell? Where did this come from? And again, I was mainly just floored by the abundance of just imagination. Wild. So I'm going to really keep my eyes peeled for anything that he's done, and without a doubt, Obsession. So yeah, super super cool. So I just wanted to do a quick show on just seeing Milk and Cereal. It's on YouTube for free. If you have YouTube, I guess Premium, you can watch it without the ads. I don't have YouTube Premium, so I watched it with the commercials, which is super ridiculous. But either way, it was uh, pretty fantastic. I was yeah. So can't recommend. Got to check this movie out. It's free, super easy to watch. It's exactly an hour. So Curry Barker, yeah, that's a name to watch, and look out for a film that he's done, which is I believe it's a regular. The length for Obsession is like hour and a half to 2 hours. It's a regular full length feature. I saw an interview with him. And he was talking about where he was like able to make this movie with a full budget. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I think this will be one to really watch. And I think there's no obviously there's no release date, but I guess it's going to get distributed. He sounds like he struck a deal. So yeah, keep eyes peeled for that. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.